Physics-themed puzzle games seem to be everywhere these days, with games like Crayon Physics Deluxe, World of Goo, and of course Portal standing out as some of the more impressive genre entrants. And yet for all the physics puzzle games out there, Bob Came in Pieces, which is a really fantastic name, stands out as a remarkably unique and original and decidedly good game. But that being said, it does actually have something in common with Portal. In terms of level design and structure, it's only 1/3 of an excellent game. The rest is just okay. Although Bob doesn't have a story, it does set up a story-ish scenario, told through a very enjoyable opening cutscene. Bob is a green-skinned alien call centre worker, which is delightfully absurd. Flying home one day from work, he loses control of his ship and crashes on a strange planet. It's then up to Bob to find the missing part he needs to be able to leave and fly home. And that, along with the laugh-out-loud funny end-of-game cutscene, is all you get in the way of story, but that's more than enough for a puzzle game, and it's definitely funner. You control your little spaceship with the arrow keys and fly around the 2.5D environments. You start the game with nothing but your legs and 4 thrusters, 2 underneath the ship and 1 to either side, giving you the ability to fly north, east and west, with gravity taking care of south. You'll soon pick up a few ship pieces, and once you land at one of the many checkpoints, you'll find that you can enter a screen where you can modify your ship. Here you can add and remove ship parts and rebuild your ship into something better suited to your current puzzle using whatever ship pieces you currently have, which explains the game's name. If you have, say, an object in a narrow, enclosed, out-of-reach area that you need to prod, you can detach one of your side thrusters, stick on a couple of tubes to create an arm, and then stick the thruster back on. You can then position your ship so that the arm can reach through the narrow area and prod the object to solve the puzzle. Later on you might need to grab or push or burn or smash something, and all of these puzzle types require particular tools and particular ship designs. But because your ship is subjected to the world's gravity, how you design your ship will affect how well it steers. If you add an arm to one side, you will need to add a similar arm to the other side as a counterbalance, or your ship will fly wonkily. If one of your leg thrusters is more powerful than the other, you'll fly at a cockeyed angle. If you need to attach a push or pull module to the side of your ship, you'll need to figure out a way to also make sure you have a thruster on that side, or you'll lose the ability to fly in the corresponding direction. When picking up objects, you may find that you don't have the required thrust to get off the ground now that you're carrying that extra weight, and you'll need to add extra thrusters, but finding places to put them and of course maintaining balance will require some creativity on your part, as you only have 8 slots for ship parts, and of course you only have so many ship parts. It's a very fresh and enjoyable way to solve puzzles, and you'll constantly be remaking your ship. And although I enjoyed reconstructing the ship by hand each time, the game also lets you save and load designs if you don't find moving parts around quite so enjoyable. One of the pitfalls of designing the ship yourself is that you can end up with some pretty useless designs, and you might find that you have to fly quite a long way back to a redesign area to fix it, or even that you're unable to fly back to the redesign area. To counter this, you can hit enter at any time to respawn at the last redesign area you touched, where you can modify your design into something more useful. But this does come at a cost, as the level reverts to the state it was in when you last touched that redesign area, so any half-complete puzzles or moved objects may have completely reset. It walks the line between keeping the game from being laborious, or even impossible, while also not being open to any abuse, and it works well. You can't save the game mid-mission, but the longest missions should only take you around 20 minutes, so that's not really an issue. Everything I've mentioned so far is pretty great. The problem with Bob Came in Pieces is that, like Portal, the game spends far too long explaining how to do things that are either intuitive thanks to good design, or just plain obvious. There are only 14 levels, which shouldn't take you more than around 2.5 to 3 hours to complete. But the game doesn't start to become truly great until the final 4 levels. The rest of the game, like Portal, is an overlong and mostly unnecessary tutorial. Everything you need to know to play Bob could have been condensed into 3 levels. But, again like Portal, that doesn't keep these earlier levels from being delightful, albeit for obviously different reasons. And those final 4 or so levels really are fantastic. They're much larger than the earlier levels, they are packed full of puzzles, and they require you to make use of all of your tools, while the earlier levels will only have one or two puzzles, usually built around the same theme. There's also no level editor, which is a big shame. This is particularly bothersome as the game has very little replay value. Each level has 5 parts for your ship that you can collect, usually by solving additional puzzles. But very few of these parts are required for you to be able to complete the game, so you can move on to the later levels with these parts uncollected. That's perhaps just as well, as picking up some of these parts is truly challenging, and collecting all of them is the real challenge of the game. But as they are optional, and because the game gives you no incentive to find most of them, you may just not want to bother. I still haven't collected all of them, and I have no particular desire to go back into the game just to get them. The game is pretty nice visually. Stuff is drawn in 3D, but you can only move in 2 dimensions, which I don't actually like in Bob. It can work pretty well for some games, like Trine or Trials 2, but I think for Bob I would have definitely preferred a pure 2-dimensional game, probably with a more cartoony art style like Aquaria or World of Goo, but yeah, Bob is nice looking and it has low system requirements, which is ideal for this kind of game, and it's really not the visuals that you're going to be playing it for anyway. The music is nice and is definitely appropriate, but nothing stands out as particularly special. As I said earlier, Bob Came in Pieces is 1/3 of an excellent game and 2/3 of an okay game. If there's ever a sequel or an expansion, and it plays from the start like the latter levels of this game, it could be absolutely excellent. Bob Came in Pieces' early level design and sluggish pace let it down, but it does have a lot going for it, and for the mere £6 or $10 it costs, it's very easy to recommend this game.